My name's Rob Ryan. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Asia Pacific for Key Assets. I think probably the main thing for me is the focus on families and supporting families. That's really important. And what's fundamental is that actually we start to see what's the role that we can play as society to make a helping hand. Is there anything else I can do to help? And that's not just for us as a sector, but as a society. Probably the other big benefit in the reforms has been the focus on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities and families. Carers are the central agents of change, and when we talk about carers, I'm talking about not just foster carers, but anyone who takes a role for caring for children. We need to hear their voices, we need to understand what's going on for them. Carers can't do it alone, so we need to wrap support around people to make it the best possible space for kids to grow and live in society. Fundamentally, they need a seat at the table. We need to have them sitting there, and actually sometimes that means it's going to be challenging. Sometimes we're going to have disagreements, but if we don't have people, carers and children and young people sitting at the table, then how do we actually really hear what's going on? Fundamentally, do you know your neighbour? Do you know who your neighbour's name is? Do you know the children in your street? If you're sitting in a shopping centre, are you the person that will go in there and say, can I do something to help? What can I do to support people? Because actually it's a hard gig being a parent, it's a hard gig being a carer, and sometimes we look to disconnect from people. So what can we do to actually connect with people and find a way to build community? One of the biggest challenges we face is how do we build the capability of the people that we work with? How do we help them to become what they need to be to give the best possible outcomes for children, young people and families? How do we hear the voices of children and young people? How do we really have a society that's listening to the children and actually puts them at the forefront of the decision making? How do you join communities? So how do you keep connections between everyone? And that's something the reforms commence doing, but there's still work to do to actually help the sector and all the partners actually align to get good outcomes. So one of the biggest challenges we've got is there's so many people sometimes in the lives of children and families that they don't know where to look and they don't know who's the person to go to. So if we can do anything about simplifying and finding ways to help people to actually use the resources around them at the right time when they need them, that's really beneficial, and I think that could really help in the future. Your voice is important. You need to be heard, and that every single child and young person matters. You're the future, and we want you to have a voice and to control and to influence and say what should happen in your world. To anybody who supports children and families, what more in life could you ask for than to say, I actually made a difference to the society? There's a lot of jobs you can do, but there's very few where you can actually make a real difference. Some days can be exceptionally hard. I've had days that I've thought, this is too tough, I can't do it anymore, it's time to give it away. But they're the days that we need to rally around each other and actually look for what are the things we can do to keep our strength by staying here and actually making the difference for others, because we're all very lucky and there's a lot of people in the community and in the sector who make significant differences. So for the days where you feel like things are really tough and you can't do it anymore, just sit there and actually push through, because we need good people to stay to make the differences that are going to help us for the future.